Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to today's episode of Skep Live Online, a production of University of Hawaii Presents, based at the University of Hawaii at Manoa Outreach College. I'd like to thank our sponsors, the National Endowment for the Arts, the Hawaii State Foundation on Culture and the Arts, the University of Hawaii, and Kainoa Senior Services. We're excited to have you join us this week, and we love to stay in touch with you. So give us your comments and questions through the chat window and let us know what you're thinking. Also, if you send your email to csinfo, that's CSINFO, at hawaii.edu, you'll get notices about upcoming programs. Today marks the last in our week with Kathy Collins. Kathy, since the age of 13, has performed as a storyteller, stage and film actress, radio and television personality, stand-up comic, emcee, and dancer. She's also a newspaper columnist with the Maui News and a freelance writer. With her pidgin-speaking alter ego, Tita, she has talked story across the state and the mainland, from the Hawaii Book and Music Festival to the Lincoln Center Out of Doors Festival. So, without further ado, join me in welcoming to Skep Live Online, Kathy Collins.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you to all of my friends at Kainoa Senior Services and the University of Hawaii Statewide Cultural Extension Program, and to you for taking time out of your busy day to join me on this last day. It's been so much fun this week. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you have as much fun as I do today. I'm going to be telling some tales that are near and dear to my heart. A couple of them from this book, Japanese Children's Favorite Stories. This was the first book that I ever owned, and I think by the time I was 6, I had memorized all of the stories. I'm going to let my pidgin-speaking alter ego, Tira, tell the last story, but I'm going to hog it for the first couple. I've got a sweet story to tell and then a scary one. And this first one comes straight from this book. It was one of my favorites. It's called The Rabbit in the Moon. One night, the old man of the moon was looking down upon this big forest in Japan, and he was pleased to see 3 friends, a monkey, a fox, and a rabbit, all sitting together, sharing laughter. They just seemed so happy. The old man of the moon said, "Oh, they treat each other with such kindness and respect. I wonder which one of them is the kindest of all." So he thought he would go and find out for himself. He descended down into the forest and transformed himself into an old beggar wearing tattered clothes and carrying a cane. And then he slowly limped into the clearing where the 3 animals sat. "Hello, little animals. Please forgive my appearance. I am so hungry. I have not had anything to eat in days." Well, the 3 animals jumped up immediately and said, Oh, you poor thing. We'll go find you some food. You just sit here and rest." And off they went in 3 different directions. The monkey hurried over to his favorite grove of fruit trees. The fox trotted down to the river to hunt for fish. And the rabbit just scurried about back and forth, trying to forage in the tall grass. The monkey was the first to return, and he had an armful of an abundance of fresh fruits. He laid it on the ground before the beggar. "Here you go. I climbed some trees to get you this fruit. Please enjoy." And the old man said, "Oh, how kind of you to climb all these trees to gather this fruit for me. Oh, thank you." Just then, the fox returned. In his teeth was a huge, fat fish, and he dropped the fish at the beggar's feet. "I hope you like fish," said the fox. "Oh, thank you. How kind of you to brave the rushing river to catch this beautiful fish for me." And the three of them waited for the rabbit to return. After a very long time, the rabbit finally hopped in, slowly, looking very dejected. The monkey jumped up. "Oh, Rabbit, where have you been? We were worried about you." And the fox said, "Oh, what's the matter? You don't look very happy." The rabbit hung his head and said, "I'm sorry. I tried to find food for our friend, but I'm no good at climbing trees or fishing, and all I could find was grass, and humans don't eat grass. I'm so sorry." But then his eyes brightened and his ears perked up. "I have an idea. Please, fox and monkey, would you go and gather some wood? Monkey, you go get the wood, and fox, please use the wood to build a big fire." Well, the monkey and fox rushed off, did as they were told, and when the fire was burning brightly, the rabbit turned to the beggar and said, "I have nothing to give you but myself. So please, sir, after I throw myself into the fire and I'm fully roasted, you may eat me." The rabbit crouched down, ready to hop into the flames, but before he could do so, the beggar jumped up, cast aside his cane, and transformed back into the old man of the moon. "Oh, rabbit, you are so brave and generous, but you must never do anything to harm yourself." He scooped up the rabbit in his arms and cradled him and said, "You are truly the kindest creature of all. I shall take you home with me into the moon, where you will be forever free from harm." The old man and the rabbit ascended up in a beam of light as the monkey and the fox watched in wonder. They were very happy for their little friend, but they did miss him a bit. And so, once a month, in the dark of the evening, the monkey and the fox sit side by side, gazing up to look at their little friend in the moon. And you can do that too. Whenever the moon is full and bright, just look up and smile as you see the rabbit in his heavenly home. Such a sweet story. I just really love that. And ever since I can remember, whenever I look up at the moon, I don't see a man up there. I do see a rabbit, sweet little rabbit. Some say in Japan that he's pounding mochi, but to me, I just see this little guy curled up on the left side of the moon. They say that the gray area is actually the smoke from the fire that he was going to throw himself into. Now, from sweet to scary, because the Japanese love spooky stories. And this story, by the way, does not come from that sweet little pink book. The Japanese have dozens and dozens of deities and demons, ghosts, and goblins in their folklore. One of the most famous is the Yuki Onna, the Snow Maiden. It's said that there are over 100 stories told about the Yuki Onna, and the one I'm going to share with you now is one of the most popular. It is over 500 years old. On an early winter day, two woodcutters, a father and son, were hard at work in the forest when a sudden rainstorm fell upon them. The wind began to blow much harder than usual, and soon the rain turned to sleet and then to snow. And the snow fell harder and faster, and within minutes, the two woodcutters found themselves in the midst of a raging blizzard. Blindly, they groped through the forest until they came upon an abandoned shack, and there they found shelter. They struggled to slam the door against the snow. They collapsed on the dirt floor and instantly fell asleep. Now, in Japan, the period between 1 and 3 in the morning is known as the year of the hour of the ox. Now, this is the time when ghosts are free to roam our earth, and curses may be cast upon unsuspecting victims. So it was right in the middle of the hour of the ox, around 2 o'clock in the morning, when the younger man was startled awake by the sound of the door bursting open. And there in the doorway appeared a beautiful woman dressed in a white kimono. Her skin was so pale it was almost translucent. Even her lips bore barely a shade of color. If not for her long black hair, she might have been virtually invisible against the flurries of snow. She approached the two men, and the son could see that she had no feet or legs. She hovered over his father and slowly lowered herself down until her body covered the old man. Her face inches away from his, she let out a single puff of air, and the old man's face was instantly coated in frost. Then she placed her lips upon his mouth and drained him of the essence of life. Then she turned her attention to the son. The poor young man was frozen with fear. He wanted more than anything to leap up and run out the door into the snowstorm. He didn't care, but he could barely even breathe, let alone move. The Yuki Onna approached him. Her yellow eyes glowed as they gazed into his, and her mouth was barely an inch away from his face when suddenly she threw her head back. You are lucky. Your father has given me my fill, and you are such a pretty young boy. I will spare your life, but you must never, ever speak of this night, or I shall find you and I shall kill you. The young man fainted. The Yuki Onna disappeared into the snow. The next morning, the son awoke, convinced that it had all been just a bad dream. But when he went to awaken his father, he was dismayed to find that the old man was indeed dead. The Yuki Onna had drained every drop of blood from the poor old man. And the son had to drag the frozen corpse down the mountain back to their home. And tearfully, he told his mother that the old man had died in a sudden, raging blizzard. He dared not tell her the truth. In fact, he blocked the whole incident from his mind, and within a few weeks, he was back in the forest, cutting wood. Well, a number of years passed before the young man finally met and married a woman, one that his mother approved of. Every year, his lovely wife bore another child, and after 10 years, they had 10 beautiful children. They all had their mother's thick black hair and flawless complexion. One night, the woodcutter was sitting, gazing at his beautiful wife, thinking how fortunate he was. She sat quietly, sewing by the light of a lantern, and he thought, oh, such a wonderful, wonderful mother she has been. In fact, when his own mother passed, her last words were words of praise for her daughter in law, who had brightened her son's life and took such excellent care of her 10 grandchildren. And as the woodcutter gazed at her, he thought, oh, even after giving birth to 10 children, she is still every bit as lovely and youthful as the day we met. And then perhaps it was the way that the candle flickered, but for some reason, a memory suddenly entered his mind and he gasped. Ah! His wife looked up from her sewing. What's the matter? Oh, nothing. It's just that, well, the way that the light hit your face just then, I was reminded of something I haven't thought about in many years. Someone I met a long time ago. She was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen until I met you, of course. The wife said, oh, how interesting. She went back to her sewing. She listened patiently, her eyes on her needle and thread, as the woodcutter let out every detail of that long suppressed memory. And when he finally finished his story, barely in a whisper, he said, to this day, I'm still not sure if it was all just a dream. His wife leapt across the room in a rage, and he was shocked to see her eyes glowing yellow. I warned you never to speak of that night. And if it were not for those 10 beautiful children asleep in the next room, you would already be dead. I must leave now. But mark my words, you had better take very good care of my babies. For if you ever give any of them a single reason to complain, I shall ensure that you meet a fate far worse than that of your fathers. And with that, the Yuki Onna melted away into the night. Well, the woodcutter lived for many years after that, broken-hearted, but totally devoted to his children. And the Yuki Onna was never again seen. Well, at least not that we've heard of. Ah, the Yuki Onna. Love a good obake story, don't you? And now for the last tale, I am going to turn the duties over to my best friend Tita, because this is a traditional Japanese folk tale. Often it's the first one that Japanese children learn, but I tell you, Tita translates it into pidgin so well that I'm going to let her do the honors. So this story is so awesome, yeah? It's called Isun Boshi. You ever heard of Isun Boshi? Yeah, most guys haven't, yeah, but I'm not surprised because the name Isun Boshi means little 1 inch. Yeah, and if you was one Japanese boy and your name was little 1 inch, you're not going to spread that around, eh? Yeah. But in Japan, this bugger is famous. I'll tell you all about him. See, this one happened long time ago in Japan. Had this old man and this old lady, yeah, they was married. There was one nice couple too, they always cook for their neighbors. They love each other. They work hard, but Life was perfect except for one thing. They never did have no keiki. Oh, and it was kind of sad because, ever since they was married, that's all they wanted was for have one child that they could raise up, love and cherish and nourish and teach them for be one good, upstanding citizen because, they so Japanese. Yeah. Look, every night before they go bed, yeah, they pray to their gods. Oh, please send us a baby that we can take care, teach, love. Oh, please, please. But year after year go by, no more baby. Maybe because all they do nighttime is pray. Yeah. But anyways, so one day, the old lady's out in the backyard pulling weeds from the daikon patch. She spot something bright red inside the leaves. So she pick them up and she was so surprised for find out was one little baby boy, 1 inch big, wrapped up in one small little blanket. Oh, she's so excited. She ran inside the house. She show her husband, look what I find. Her husband go, oh, our prayer is answered. Yeah, but he's so small. Never mind. We shall feed him. We shall teach him. We shall love him as our very own child, and someday he grow up big and strong. But for now, we call him Isun Boshi, little 1 inch. That's what they did. The little old lady, she take one piece material from her best kimono and she sew small little shirt and pants for a boy. And the father, he take his best sharpest knife and he carve out small little table and chairs for a boy. Yeah. Every year, Isun Boshi grow more smart. Every year, Isun Boshi grow more strong. But he never did grow more big. 16 years old, 1 inch tall. But on his 16th birthday, the boy go to his mother and father and he tell, Mama-san, Papa-san, you've been so kind to me. You take care of me like are your very own blood. And now, my turn, take care of you. I shall go out in the world, seek my fortune, so you too no need to work so hard. Oh, Isun Boshi's mother, she cry up, and even Isun Boshi's father get one tear in his eye, but small kind though. And then Isun Boshi's father, he get his most favorite chawang, his rice bowl. He give him to Isun Boshi for him use as one boat. Isun Boshi's mother take her most sharpest needle from her sewing kit, give him to Isun Boshi for him use as one sword. And then she make 1 dozen small little spam musubis, put them in one small little bag, give them to the boy, and off he go down the road. Oh man, heading for the river, dragging his chawang boat behind. Yeah? When he reached down the river bank, push the chawang in the water. He jump inside and he used one chopstick for push himself along. Yeah? Floating down the river, he eating his spam musubi, trying to figure out what he gonna do for make his fortune. Cause when you 1 inch big, yeah, your job opportunities kind of limited. Yeah, I mean, no can be rice farmer, you would drown in the rice paddy. No can be fisherman, the fish would eat him. Yeah, what he gonna do? And then he was down to his last spam musubi when he get a bright idea. I shall be samurai because I have a sword. Isun Boshi decide he gonna find the shogun's castle. He gonna offer himself to the shogun. He gonna be the number one Ichiban samurai in all Japan. For days, and going down the river, and finally, he spot the shogun's castle high on the mountainside. He push his chawang boat to the side. He jump out and he walk. Oh, he walk and walk and walk. Took him days because, his legs was only half-inch long, yeah? But finally, he reached the great wooden doors of the shogun's castle and he called out, "Hello! Hello!" The maid opened up the door, but she no see nobody. So she closed the door and go back inside. Isun Boshi yelled more loud, "Hello! Hello! Open up, please!" The maid opened the door and he yelled, "Down here! Down here!" The maid looked down, but all she seen is the guitar, the high-heel wooden slippers that the Japanese use, yeah? So she closed the door, go back inside. Well, by now, the shogun hear all this commotion. He know what's going on, eh? And the maid tell, "I'm sorry, master. I don't know, but I think the guitar come inside." The shogun opened up the door, see for himself. And by now, Isun Boshi went climb on top the guitar, pull out his needle sword, waving him around so the thing glisten in the sun, yeah? And he tell, "I am Isun Boshi, small in height, but still can fight. I wish to serve a shogun. I wish to become number one Ichiban samurai in all Japan." Well, when the shogun see and hear this, he boss laugh, but be rude. So he called his daughter, the princess, for come see. And when the princess, she only 12, 13 years old, when she seen that little 1-inch boy waving his needle, she stay all "Oh, Papa San, he's so cute. Oh, we can keep him, please, Papa San, please." "If you wish, daughter." "Isun Boshi, from now on, you shall be my daughter's pet. I mean, bodyguard." Oh, bodyguard! Isun Boshi can hardly believe. He just meet the shogun, and already the shogun trusts him for protect his daughter, the princess. Isun Boshi swear right then and there he would give his life for protect the princess. And from that day on, the two guys, best friends. Everywhere the princess go, Isun Boshi stay right on top her shoulder. And she do her homework. Isun Boshi help her. She practice playing the koto. Isun Boshi dance up. She make one nice little room for him inside her dollhouse. And the two guys so happy together. Well, one day, Isun Boshi and the princess, they will go for one walk in the forest behind the shogun's castle. Was one gorgeous day. The sun was shining, the birds was singing, all happy. And then, without warning, out from behind one tree, jump one Oni. Now, one Oni is one Japanese demon. They kind of look like humans, but usually they say 8, 10 feet big. They come in different kind colors. And some of them get scales, like this one. He was all green. He had fish scales over his body. Horns coming out of his big bolo head. Rotten teeth that smell just as bad as the fish scales. And he go, "What are you doing in my forest?" Isun Boshi go, "No, this is not your forest. This belongs to Shogun. This is the Shogun's daughter, princess. And I am Isun Boshi, small in height, but still can fight. I am princess bodyguard." And he jump off the princess' shoulder, pull out his sword, ready for do battle, The Oni looked down at him. He go, buddy God, you got your little needle. You look more like a seamstress to me. I have magic hammer. But I no need to waste my hammer on you. He shoved the hammer back inside his belt. He lift up one leg for smash Isun Boshi, but Isun Boshi too quick. He jumped on top the Oni's other foot, and he start climbing up the Oni's leg, scale by scale. The Oni, he grabbed for the princess, but the princess ran away. The Oni is so slow and clumsy. Good thing, because hard for run around in one kimono, but the princess going from tree to tree, screaming around, and the Oni coming after her. Boom, 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 and Isun Boshi climbing up, 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 scale by scale, up the Oni's leg, up to the belt with a magic hammer hanging. He reached for the hammer, he grabbed him, but the thing too heavy, the hammer fall down to the ground. Isun Boshi no give up. He keep climbing up the scales of the Oni's chest until he reached the Oni's shoulder. And then he yelled inside the Oni's ear, I am Isun Boshi. Oh, the Oni hear that. He turned, he looked at Isun Boshi, and he let out one roar. And just as soon as he opened his mouth, Isun Boshi jumped inside, take his needle, and poke him all at the place. Oh, the Oni spit Isun Boshi out, take off running out of the forest. Nobody ever seen him again. He's so fast running out, he forget his magic hammer on the ground. The princess, she pick up the hammer and she shake him for get the dust, the dirt off, yeah? And every time she shake the hammer, Isun Boshi grow 1 inch. 75 times she shake the hammer, Isun Boshi end up 6'4". Good thing wasn't me, yeah? Because if it was me, I would be like, 34, enough already, yeah? Bugger would be 3 feet tall. But the princess, good Japanese girl, 75 times she shake the hammer, Isun Boshi turned into one tall, handsome young samurai. And the two of them, they go back to the shogun's castle, and the princess tell her father all what Isun Boshi went do, how brave and loyal he was, how he risked his life for protect her. And the shogun said, Isun Boshi, you truly are my number one Ichiban samurai. Whatever you wish, you name, I give to you. Isun Boshi said, oh, I need nothing for me, but if my mama-san and papa-san could come and live in castle so they don't have to work so hard no more, I'd be so grateful. The shogun think to himself, this good boy here would make good son-in-law one day. So the shogun send the servants out to the countryside. They find Isun Boshi's mother and father. They bring them back to the castle. 3 years after that, Isun Boshi and the princess will get married. And all them guys live happy ever after. So, you know what is the moral of the story, eh? Size no matter, so long as you get magic inside your hammer. True story, honest promise.
Kathy, you never cease to delight us. Thank you. That was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. It's not quite the way I heard the story as a child, but you get the drift.
Yeah, I think I've read that one. I've never heard that ending either, but it was wonderful nonetheless.
Thank you.
I wanted to. Someone asked if you could share the the book so people could see the one you told
Oh,
the first story, I believe it was, with?
I think it's in like its 40th, 50th printing. It's Japanese children's favorite stories collected by it was published by the Charles E. Tuttle Company, and it's collected by Florence Sakade, edited by Florence Sakade, and it's got the same illustrations that I remember uh, from my childhood by a very famous Japanese illustrator. I don't know if you can see that, but there's the rabbit in the moon.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, but it's delightful, and I know you can find it online or at
I'm sure the
Barnes and
library has it
Noble,
as well.
whatever, and I'm sure the library has it. Yeah, yeah, it's
Fabulous.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are these the stories as you find them in books and so forth? Are they different than what you remember hearing as a kid from your mom or other people? And kind of tell us a little bit about
Um,
how those people told the stories to you. What kind of style did they use? Or
well, well, I'm an only child, and I was blessed to have doting parents. My father taught me to read when I was 2, and as long as I can remember, all my life, I've had books, and so rather than telling me stories, my mom and my dad would read from my various books. Uh, when I was very young, I had an Issei, a first generation Japanese babysitter. This was in Chicago, where I was born. My dad was attending school at the time.
mm,
And my parents, through the little Japanese American network, were able to find Tanaka Obachan. And I have vague memories of her. I don't think she was reading from the book, but I have memories of her telling me about Momotaro, the Peach Boy,
mm,
and Isun Boshi. And but in her little accent, my mom is fond of reminding me that I had a wooden puzzle of the United States, and I would tell my parents in the evenings, uh, Mommy says Washington, but Tanaka Bachan says Washington. And North Dakota and South Dakota, but Daddy says South Dakota. And so I get my characterizations from Tanaka Obachan, but the stories, and in attending Japanese language school in our little primers, our books, several of these stories, Momotaro especially,
mm.
are told again, and yeah, it's
Well,
so
you do
it's
a
really
wonderful job of telling them yourself. So it sounds like you came from a wonderful upbringing where you had parents who read to you, and that's an absolute fabulous way to start a kid's life. So
I am
great job and
very blessed.
opportunity. Yes.
Not only did they read to me, but they encouraged me to read on my own, and to I again, I was an only child. We didn't live close to my school friends, and so I spent a lot of time daydreaming and fantasizing and writing stories. My very indulgent parents would have to sit and watch me put on these one girl plays in the evening after dinner. I remember writing a story about Mighty Mouse getting married, and it's just my mother's a pack rat like I am. She kept all of these little scribbles on note paper. So maybe
I'm
someday
sure
I'll adapt the story of Mighty Mouse getting married and tell it.
I'm sure they were very proud of you. So that's fabulous that you
Uh,
carried this into your life today. What is it about
I
ghost stories
appreciate
that
that.
attracts you? And
Oh,
go ahead.
I think most people, to some degree, have a fascination with ghost stories. When I was young, I I was much better able to tolerate scary movies than I am now. I'm kind of a chicken now, but I loved Outer Limits, The Twilight
Oh,
Zone. Oh, I
yes.
used to
Wonderful
watch
show.
those faithfully. And so I don't know. Of course, back then it was just fun to get scared, right? And
Right.
now that I'm a bit older, I think that the thought of realms beyond the one in which we dwell currently does kind of fascinate me. Um, my dad was not a religious person, but he was very spiritual, and he used to tell me, there's no such, you don't die and go to heaven. This is heaven where we are, and you have to live every day in appreciation of that. But when he passed, a week after his passing, he came to me, and I refuse to say it was a dream. I just know
Mhm.
I was visited by my father's spirit. And he told me then, he says, I just had to come back to let you know that there is something here, and it's beautiful. Everything
Oh, wonderful.
is all right. And so I just, it's kind of, I'm not really anxious to go and see for myself, but uh, just the thought of just the feeling, the belief that we are surrounded um, by spirit
Hmm.
um, is comforting.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all you've shared with us this week. It's been an absolutely wonderful week with you. And I know the audiences have thoroughly enjoyed it. I do also want to thank our
Well, no
sponsor.
one has in. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say no one's enjoyed it more than I have, Tim, and I'm so grateful to you for facilitating this, and to the folks that you're going to thank now, our wonderful sponsors. Thank you so much for the great honor and pleasure of doing a Skep Online series.
Oh, you're welcome. And it is indeed our pleasure to be able to work with such wonderful artists in the community, both here and from afar. And hopefully one day soon we'll be able to do it in more in-person type of manners than the virtual world, which for a teller like you, I know limits you to some degree, and I love to see you in person perform, not just in front of a screen, even though that's absolutely wonderful also. And yes, you're right. I do need to thank our sponsors one more time: the National Endowment for the Arts, the Hawaii State Foundation on Culture and the Arts, the University of Hawaii, Kanoa Senior Services, and you, our audiences, for tuning in. And if you are interested, tomorrow at 7 p.m., we will be having from the on campus Orbis Auditorium a concert of classical guitar music with Aaron Cardenas
Oh,
and Ian O'Sullivan. So if you happen to be around, it'll be on this same um, Skep Live Online YouTube channel. And then next week, we have coming at this particular time, 10 a.m., we will have on Tuesday, Hawaii Opera Theater will be presenting a program of opera and other types of songs. And then on Wednesday, we have Tikiniendo uh, and his Center for the Taiko Center of the Pacific. They will be on Wednesday. And we will continue to have programs throughout the rest of the summer. So we hope you will join us when you can. And we certainly appreciate it when you do. And if you haven't already, sign up at csinfo@hawaii.edu and you'll get all of the information about the upcoming shows. So, Kathy, thank you once again. It has been a pleasure this week. And we want all of you out there,
thank you, Tim.
you are welcome. Please stay safe and aloha.